Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on Solana. So, Solana really can't seem to catch a break right now. We're going to talk about a tiny news event that may have passed your ears in the past 24 hours and then dive into the TA and see how things have started to manifest since our last TA video. So, like I said, Solana really can't catch a break. There's been a few delistings in the past couple of weeks or so. This major one coming from Matrix Port. Now, why this is super important is Matrix Port has reportedly between 3 to 4 billion assets under management, and since they came out and said, hey, we no longer want to support Solana, we're going to be delisting, you can see exactly what happened when this news article came out. Now, this was right here. Between these times, you can see really within a couple of hours or so, if we come over to the 4-hour time frame, Solana absolutely started nuking about 18% on the daily time frame, and it had a slight bounce back after Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, posted, his best wishes to the Solana ecosystem. So still, it's really not looking good for Solana right now. In our last TA video, we were trading at $13.50, and now we're all the way down at, just beneath $10, which is a price target I've been mentioning for absolutely ages now. And also, yesterday we talked about how some of the Solana's top NFT projects are leaving, being Utes and DeGods. So we're seeing people leave the Solana ecosystem left, right, and center, and this is obviously not manifesting well in the price action. We've obviously had the Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, Alameda FUD. Then we found out that Sam Bankman-Fried still holds tons of Solana, which absolutely nuked the price. Then we saw tons of Solana being unstaked in one of the most recent epochs a few weeks ago, and you can see how this affected the price action. And of course, in my last TA video for Solana, we were priced round about $13.50. If you go look at the comments in the video, you'll see that some people called me a fodder and was spreading doomsday scenarios for saying that we were going to have a rug pull down to the downside. And of course, these people were wrong. We went all the way down to $8, bounced back up. And where did we bounce from? Let's come over to the weekly time frame. Well, we bounced from our first, not first macro price target, of course. If you've been watching the channel, we've been saying $10 for Solana for absolutely ages. If you go over to my Twitter, I've had this target for ages. You can go confirm this. It's not too necessary to put it up. But over on the weekly time frame, you can see this was one of our second macro price targets after we mentioned $10. We talked about this volume profile down here, round about $7.75, where there would be a large amount of support coming in, and we could potentially see a bounce. Now, we came right down to this volume profile, pinged off this level, and bounced back up. Why did we ping back up? Well, I just mentioned Vitalik tweeted its support out for Solana, saying more or less that he wishes the best for the Solana ecosystem. And how did this affect the price action? Well, we came from the bottom of the volume profile and pinged, as you can see, this green box here is the volume profile, where we've got a little bit of data previously traded. In fact, the top of this range is actually right here. So let's see if we came right up to this target, and we more or less came right up to this range. In fact, 1.618 Fibonacci is at $11, so we didn't quite ping up to this level. So it looked like we had a nice liquidity grab to the upside, and we pushed up from this $8 price target that we mentioned. So what is the next viable course? What is the next likely action for Solana? Well, if you watch the most recent video, I of course talked about my next macro price target being down here at $5, and we've also got this nasty bearish pennant price target all the way down here at $4.50. Has anything changed from there? No. So like we said, the last video we were around about $13.50, getting ready to break to the downside of this bear flag, and I told you we were going to come down to $8, potentially see a bounce on the volume profiles before coming back down to $5, and then of course $4.50, which I still absolutely do believe in. So from $13.50 or so, we literally broke down about 42% within 2 weeks from this video, and we're currently residing at a minus 29% drop. So from where we're at this moment in time, it looks like we're going to see about another 48% continuation to the downside before we do come down to my price target of $5. And of course, $4.50 is also another macro price target I've got, which is a 53% drop. Now, just before we do move on, like literally every single video I make on Solana, I made videos at $100, I made videos at $50, I made videos at $20, I made videos at $10. Every time I make a video on Solana, I get accused of FUD, but these people don't realize that my YouTube profile pic is a Solana NFT, my profile pic over on Twitter is a Solana NFT, and I've been saying for the past 6, 7, 8 months, I do not want to buy Solana at $100. I don't want to buy it at $50. I don't want to buy it at $20. I don't want to buy it at $10, and people called me crazy. They said, why don't you want to buy Solana at $100? Why don't you want to buy it at $50? It's going to $1,000. And now, when I'm starting to pick up a little bit of interest in Solana, because I do want to put it out there, Solana is still a project I am absolutely very interested in. People told me I was crazy for not buying at $100 and $50, and now people are starting to say, you know, it's no longer going to $1,000, it's no longer going to $500, it's going to zero. So what this means to me is the bottom, I think we've got a long way to go before the bottom is in, but when everyone starts saying down at these levels Solana is a dead project, that is going to be when I'm finally going to be starting to pick up my bags. Once again, I didn't want to buy at 100, I didn't want to buy at 50, I didn't want to buy at 20, I didn't want to buy at 10. When we do come down to $5, $4, maybe a little bit lower, of course we'll have to reanalyze the market when we do come down to these levels. Don't let fear, uncertainty, and doubt cloud your mind, because I do believe this is going to be a great project moving into the next cycle. Just wanted to put it out there. Every time I share data about the on-chain metrics over on Solana, every time I give my honest opinion on the TA, someone calls me a fudder, someone says it's a doomsday scenario, someone says, you know, how could you spread FUD about this ecosystem? I'm a big fan of Solana, but I'm a realist, and I'm not going to lie to you. So, of course, from where we're at right now, I still do see this nasty rug pull down to the downside to ensue. Now, before we do move on to the oscillators, because of course, I've just said I do think we are going down to $5. We'll look at the oscillators to decide how quickly we can come down to some of these lower levels. But first of all, let's look at the altcoin market cap, because of course, the altcoin market cap starting to break down. You know, you're seeing your Ethereums, your BNBs, your Solanas, your KDAs, your Dogecoins. Once all of these altcoins start rushing to the downside, of course, Solana, which has got a bunch of FUD floating around in the ecosystem right now, this is going to be one of the altcoins that gets hit pretty hard. So I would just like to highlight, you know, since our last video, we have started to come down for the total altcoin market cap. And I do believe the altcoin market cap, if it drops about another 8% down to 400 billion, it is going to be very, 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 very worrying, especially for Solana, because this 786 Fibonacci, if you haven't looked at how these work before, look at how the 786 Fibonacci's work with Bitcoin, look at how they work with the total cryptocurrency market cap, and look at how they work with the altcoin market cap. The final brutal landslides to the downside after bull markets always happen after you capitulate beneath the 786 Fibonacci. You can see, you know, the 2015 up to 2018 bull run, and for the total altcoin market cap, sure, you know, this was a nasty bear market, but once you broke beneath the 786 and retested it, that is when you had the final capitulation. And this is what I am still predicting. I'm not saying that all cryptos are going to zero. I'm not saying Solana is just going to keep on dropping for years and years and years. I've been saying for a while now, I do think we've got that one final brutal capitulation coming, and I don't believe that we've seen it yet. There's not enough blood in the streets. As I've said before, I was here in 2017, and I can tell you for a fact that the bottom was not in until, you know, the last line of support was absolutely obliterated. During this moment in time, no one, you know, everyone was saying, you know, buy the dip, 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 buy the dip. And as we lost the 786 Fibonacci, the bottom was not in until people left the ecosystem. YouTubers stopped posting on their channels, you know, Twitter, Instagram, crypto pages, they just started leaving the ecosystem. Everyone was saying it was going to zero. And of course, when that final brutal capitulation where there's tons of blood in the street ensued, that was when the final bottom was in. And of course, you can see this in the total cryptocurrency market cap as well. Once the 786 Fibonacci is lost, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a monumental, brutal landslide to the downside. And how this is going to affect Solana is yet to be seen. We need to reanalyze the markets as Solana does come down to 450. I'm currently not saying I'm going to be buying at $5 or 450. We're taking this one price target at a time, and until something changes, I won't be rushing into any trades. I won't be rushing into DCA. I'd rather miss the first 25% pump in the new bull market than pretend I know where the bottom is and, you know, DCA here and here and here and here. It's not a good idea. So lower time frames, just quickly before we do pop over to the higher time frames, you can see this was exactly when Vitalik tweeted his support, very interestingly down at the volume profiles, and price absolutely pinged up, came up to the top of the long-term moving average. So we have on the 4-hour time frame successfully completed a reversion to the mean, and right now it seems like we're lollygagging and getting stuck underneath the short-term moving average. Short-term moving average is going to slowly converge, while the long-term moving average is all the way up at $11. So this is going to come down relatively quickly. And as we talked about in our most recent Solana video, what happens when the EMA ribbons become their tightest? This is when you start to see the most volatile moves ensuing in the market. You can see EMA ribbons were pretty tight here, and then boom, massive run down to the downside. So with what's happening with Solana right now, lower time frames, we've completed a reversion to the mean. So I do think we're probably in the next couple of days or so going to get ready to start rolling back down to the downside. You can also see our EMA ribbons, short-term moving average, all the way up at $12 is rushing down to meet the current price target. So as I've been saying, I do think we're coming down to $5. We, of course, need to penetrate the floorboards of this $7.90, $7.80 to be secure. If we do come over to the absolute bottom of the range, yes, most of the volume was traded here, but I'd say the absolute floorboard of this is, $7.30, $7.50. Of course, if we lose $7.50, it's going to be curtains anyway. So that's the next move that I'm looking out for. I would be waiting for that $7.50 floor to get broken, and then I do believe we're going to rush down to $5 very, very quickly. So before we do wrap up the video, there's a few other things that I do want to look at. Number one being the on-chain. So oscillators to start with. If we look at the weekly time frame, you can actually see, even though, price has been rushing to the downside and people have been leaving this ecosystem, you can see the MFI, being the money flow index, is still relatively overextended. In fact, we're coming back up to the heartline, and we've been making a plethora of low lows and lower highs in the macro time frame, and it looks like, round about this area, it would be very, very likely for us to put in another lower high. Now, if I draw this as like a line of best fit, you can kind of see how we are, steadily approaching this trend line. Of course, line of best fit, I'm not accurately drawing it to the data points, but either way that you look at this on the weekly time frame, MFI looks like it is getting ready to flip back down to the downside, and we've got a long way to go back down. Of course, we've just approached the heartline very recently, and what happened the last time that we were at the heartline and continued to break down to the downside? Well, it was all the way over here on the 27th of December. MFI was relatively overextended, and because of this, there wasn't enough liquidity in the markets to support a further move to the upside. And you can see how this MFI peak just over the heartline is literally the exact top over in this scenario here. So you can see within the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really most of this move happened in 5 weeks. We dropped about another 60% to the downside, and the MFI is at these levels once again that it was at back here. And you can also see quite recently, heartline came up to the heartline on the MFI, and we dropped 65%. So we're pushing back up to the heartline again. We don't have a good track record of the MFI being at this area for Solana, so it is not looking good whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, what was my price target? How far do I think we're dropping down? Right here, we just talked about this, about 52%, or 48% if you want to be conservative. So what I'm predicting isn't, a black swan event. What I'm predicting isn't, an absolute doomsday scenario. It's exactly what's happened the past few times that we've approached this heartline over on the MFI. Now, for the squeeze momentum indicator, this is where things get even more brutal. You can see, yes, for the past month or so, the squeeze momentum indicator has been ticking down into light red, indicative that we are starting a new bearish trend after. Did we flip? No, we didn't flip. We didn't flip bullish, but we did approach the heartline. So the last time we were at the heartline was right here on the 10th of January. And once again, this is another situation. This is perfectly where the MFI lined up as well. And as we talked about, actually MFI topped out just before. MFI topped out over on this peak. The squeeze momentum indicator topped out round about this peak. So the last time the squeeze momentum indicator was getting ready to rush down into a new trend, we dropped about 47-48%, which actually beautifully lines up with the conservative price target of $5. So on the higher time frames, there's a lot of indicators, being the MFI, squeeze momentum indicator, looking at liquidity in the greater markets. A lot of indicators, on-chain metrics that we'll talk about in just 1 second. A lot of FUD blowing around in the markets, delistings going on, price action backing it, reversions to the mean on the 4-hour time frame, bear flag breakdown price targets or bearish pennant breakdown targets, talking about us coming down to 450. We've already pinged from the bottom of the volume profile range up to the top of the volume profile range. So there's so many indicators right now that are saying we really should be starting to get ready to break down to the downside, just like I talked about in the last video when we were trading at $13.50. Now, Slightly less bearish scenario over on the daily time frame for the oscillators, but nonetheless, if we start off with the squeeze momentum indicator has only really started to break down into a new bearish trend. The last time we were at these type of levels, you can see we were round about here, and we proceeded within a day to drop 49%. Of course, I believe this lined up with the FTX FUD and also a mass exodus of unstaking from, Phantom wallets and, other Web3 wallets that allow you to stake over on Solana. But within a week or so, you can see price dropped about 53%, and within a day, which is not what I'm saying now, I don't think we're going to drop anything like this in a day, but I am telling you to be extremely cautious because squeeze momentum indicator has a long way to go back down to the downside, and as you can see, we're only slowly trickling into bearish momentum right now. Now, the MFI is actually bouncing because we literally went all the way down to about 7 and we're pushing up to about 23 or 24 right now. So money flow could definitely increase a little bit, but when we're looking at the greater markets, it's not looking likely. So liquidity conditions may be extremely dampened for Solana, but you've got to remember, the MFI can't take into account FUD going on the market. It can't take into account delistings. So while the MFI is saying that, hey, we could bounce a little bit more, I would be in slight disagreement with this. I don't think it's very likely that we are going to bounce very high. Now, outside of this, why I would be saying it's very unlikely to see a bounce is if we come over to the 4-hour time frame for the S&P 500, looking at the E-mini futures, it looks like we're putting in some type of potential diamond bottom formation. I do not believe this will hold. A diamond bottom formation would be indicative that we would break to the upside of this. However, if you do watch the channel, we look at liquidity conditions in the S&P 500, and liquidity conditions are overextended right now. So I don't believe we have the liquidity required to break out of this potential diamond bottom formation right now. So I would just call this a diamond and see how this plays out. But we have been rejected 3 times from the top of this range, and it looks like we're coming all the way back down to about 3,800 for the S&P 500. I don't want to look at too many other stock market charts. Of course, if you do look at the channel, you'll know all about the liquidity conditions that we do talk about very frequently. Coming over to Solana against Bitcoin, it's been a while since we've looked at the Sol BTC pair, and as you can see, we made a prediction for a 60% drop, and obviously I've been away for the past week or so, so I didn't update this, but we have hit one of my first macro price targets for Solana against Bitcoin. Now, the next level to the downside is for Solana to underperform Bitcoin by about another 35%, coming back down to this range. If that doesn't hold, which I don't think it will, because I do believe Solana has a ways to go down to the downside, I believe Solana could drop about another 60%. Bear in mind, this is against Bitcoin. So if I am coming over to Bitcoin, and quite recently I've been talking about my $14,000 price target, this would be indicative from where we're at right now. This would be about a 15% drop. So Solana could drop maybe 75% or so from where we are. Let's see how a 75% drop would fare in the markets. 75% would be down at about 250. Now, at this moment in time, I don't want to call for 250. It does seem a little bit too brutal for me to call in the immediate short term. So I'm just letting you know what the TA is saying. I will reanalyze the markets when we do come down to $5. Please don't take my words out of context. I'm not predicting 250 at this moment in time. I'm just letting you know what the charts are saying. At this moment in time, I'm predicting $5 and $4.50. As we do come down to this price target, I will reanalyze the markets. I'll look at the S&P 500. I'll look at liquidity conditions, dollars, government bonds, Bitcoin, the greater markets, liquidity conditions, and I'll look at everything and say, how is this going to affect Solana, and how can we reanalyze the Solana markets and let you know where do I think the next price target is. I'm a big fan of taking things one price target at a time, and right now $5 and $4.50 is still my price target. So just quickly, I mean, I talked about this very extensively in my past TA video, so I don't want to spend too long on this, but when you're looking at network growth, it's while I don't think it's granted that people should be leaving the Solana ecosystem, while of course NFT projects can leave, they can move to a new chain if they want. I have nothing against that. People can delist. I'm not the owner of Matrix Port, so I can't tell them how to run their companies, but this is why they're leaving. They're leaving because network growth is diminishing. NFT projects are moving to Ethereum and Polygon, and also, people, exchanges, people, digital finance firms with large assets under management, they're delisting Solana because they don't want to associate with them. And it's because, you look at the non-vote transactions on the network, they're heavily falling to the downside. Look at the number of active addresses on the Solana network, they're rushing to the downside. The network isn't being used as much as it was a couple of months ago. When you're looking at the Solana value moved on chain, this thing has just absolutely diminished. I mean, you can see that, at points we were moving huge amounts of money. At the peaks in December, we were moving 50 trillion worth of value moved on chain. And, right now coming into, we don't have the full data for December, but in November, it's coming down to 155 billion or so. So it's not looking good for Solana. It's really not looking good. And of course, I fully do appreciate all networks are really diminishing, apart from some outliers like Polygon, which are actually seeing increased network growth, probably taking some of that network effect away from Solana. But I'm just telling you the reasons why people are leaving the ecosystem. Of course, we're in a bear market. In general, of course, network growth is going to be down for everything, but the network growth for Solana is really falling through the floorboards at this moment in time. So this is definitely cause for concern. And of course, this is why I do believe that my next price target for Solana down here at $5 and $4.50 is absolutely still in play. So all I've got for you for this video, my friends, if you do want more of my content, if you do want some more on-chain metrics, memes, news updates, while I am away from the charts, because as you can see, I was away yesterday, but I was able to post the news when this did come out about 18 hours ago. And of course, this was very timely because the price started nuking to the downside. So if you do want up-to-date news events, more TA and more from me, be sure to head over to my Twitter at 618_cowboy. So all I've got for you for this video. As always, if you do appreciate the content, let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.